Greetings gamers, welcome to my channel. Today I'm very excited to share my first impressions of Starlight Re, a brand new online co-op action roguelite made by Puddle Labs. Over the last few days, they have opened the game for their first public playtest, and I want to give you a detailed breakdown of what this game has to offer, the good stuff, and the areas that could use some tweaking. So grab a snack, relax, and let's dive. So what exactly is Starlight Re? It is a fast-paced cooperative roguelite set in a place called Somai, a cluster of dream worlds where you as a diver fight through challenges and return home as heroes. Emphasizing teamwork, strategy, and skill-based PvE combat, in this dreamscape, you team up with other divers to fight through rooms of enemies in rule-bending worlds and take down giant bosses. Upon first look, the game blends roguelike elements, roguelike progression, bullet hell with skill-based combat against hordes of enemies, making a fresh experience for fans of those genres. Looking at the user interface, I honestly found it to be clean, but it is a little confusing. Some things are not very intuitive, and it took me a while to figure them out. Navigation within the menus is very straightforward, as in I know what I am looking at with that menu tab on. This also applies to during a run, where I can quickly and clearly see me and my teammates' stats and inventory. However, where this game falls short is the explanation of certain mechanics, which can easily be solved with some displays, in both overworld and dives. Things such as where I can obtain certain crafting materials, or what is blight, or how to equip trinkets for their buffs, or the kinds of buffs I have at the moment, or the existence of times of day in the overworld which affect certain loot drops, or even what room that I will be picking next. These are key information that I would like to know on my first playthrough, and I don't want them to appear in random flavor text and loading screens, because there's a chance that a player doesn't even pay attention to those, and then not understanding what to do, ultimately hurting their experience of the game. Overall though, the UI is well designed, and I think it could be improved with clearer icons and more organization. Like, yeah, I could clearly tell I have almost 1,000 fishing rods. The UI is functional, but could use some polish. Oh hey look, they announced that they would be reworking the entire screen at some point. Neat! Next up, let's talk about the environment and the game's overall visuals. The game is set in an anime-inspired world, in a cutting-edge island paradise that utilizes both science and magic. I think the vibrant colors help set the tone for the game's adventurous and dreamlike nature. The contrast in color makes everything pop with energy. Pair that with a cheerful backing track and you get something that looks like it came straight out of a slice of life anime. Wait a minute. The art style is, well, cartoonish, and it works in favor of the game's relaxing vibe. I can see myself just feeling good from just getting on and hanging out in the lobby. One thing I will say though is that this overworld is called Nishi Island Metropolis. It's supposed to be a big city, but this place seems rather small, and I think it could be more bustling, it could be livelier, but that's just a little nitpick. I like the artistic direction that this game is going, and I am looking forward to seeing the world expand later on. Alright, now that we're all excited, let's talk about gameplay. This section is more so dedicated to discussing things like overall controls, progression, and balancing, though I do plan to make separate videos that talk about each character in depth later on, so stay tuned for that. I will be giving a quick rundown of the available characters we have. There are 3 playable characters in the game so far, Effie, Kira, and Ren. All of them have unique playstyles. First, there's Effie. She takes the role of an in-your-face sort of brawler, who bravely walks into danger. Perfect for those who love playing close-range classes like bruisers. Then there's Kira, described as an acrobatic gunner, suited for those who prefer a ranged playstyle. And Ren, characterized as a versatile team player with the ability to change his stance to adapt for close or mid-range. The controls are more or less standard for a video game, using WASD for movement, space for dash, etc. However, the inability to change keybinds for casting skills is definitely making the controls feel tight. For now, it's RB, Q, E, and F. Though once again, this is a nitpick that can easily be resolved by allowing the changing of keybinds, so I won't worry too much about that. As for progression, we are largely subject to the wrath of RNG. Buffs are RNG, skills are RNG, heck even teammates are RNG. Divers get the choice to decide which room to enter so we can learn new abilities, upgrade them, or obtain charms that act as passive buffs, slowly getting stronger as we approach the final boss. I think that seeing your diver doing more and more damage and eventually defeating the final boss is a universally accomplishing feeling. Since there are only 27 rooms, picking which room to go to can greatly influence the outcome of the run. There is also a sort of timer system, indicated as fuel at the top of your screen, where if you take too long to clear a room, you begin taking damage over time. This encourages you to face the enemy head-on and beat them fast, instead of slowly chipping them away and cheesing through each level. Another strategic layer to this fuel system is piñatas. Occasionally, piñatas can appear at the end of the room. Breaking it sacrifices a portion of your fuel for additional currency, used to increase your diver's strength. There is also a layer of skill to the game, where players are rewarded bonus fuel if nobody in the party takes HP damage. Personally, I like this concept, but it feels like a catch-22 situation with this reward, because if you clear the room flawlessly and quickly, there's no point in extra time, so the bonus seems meaningless. And on the other hand, suppose someone has unlucky RNG with skills and charms, which leads to taking more time to clear, hence are more likely to get hit, which voids the bonus reward. I think perfect clearing can feel more rewarding if the player gets a slight boost in power. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, like skill upgrade materials, but even if it's just a little bit of summonite, which is the currency used to buy charms in shops, that can go a long way. The combat itself feels a little rigid and janky, and the animations can be smoother. For example, whenever you cast a skill, you stand still first, and then you cast it. I believe being able to cast skills without stopping movement or even with a shorter delay is going to feel much more fluid, and it would also feel cooler and more satisfying. Another part of the jankiness is the inability to dash cancel certain abilities, especially when some skills drastically decrease your movement speed, making it a lot easier to take damage when casting. Lastly, there are areas where I think the balancing could do some work. My best example of this is the Elite Rooms, which is a set encounter of an Elite Mage plus a laser guy, I guess. These two enemies have a set amount of health at any point of the run, so if you pick an Elite Room early on, you will be fighting two enemies with massive HP pools, whereas if you pick it later, you can pretty much one-shot them. Which honestly feels a little underwhelming since the purpose of an Elite Room is supposed to be getting even more rewards for a much more difficult encounter. But right now it seems as though there is no scaling for Elite Rooms, unlike every other room, so yes, maybe take a look at the balancing for progression. Still, the core mechanics of gameplay have pretty good depth and challenge already, and I am excited to see how far they can take it in future content. Moving on to the co-op aspect, this is probably my greatest highlight during the playtest. I had a genuine blast when playing this game with my friends. Moments like when one of us discovers a crazy build and carries the rest of us, or the friendly sound of frustration when that one friend keeps getting hit so no one gets a bonus time. Even in public matchmaking, it is so cool to see 4 people working together to progress through the stages with questionable communication techniques. That said, I think there's still room to improve, from just having more cooperative content and features like raid bosses with parties of 20 or co-op skills. Okay, in hindsight that's a very ambitious idea. I still think it's cool though. Overall, co-op is hands down the best thing going for the game, and I'm all in for it. Okay, so that's about it on my first impressions of Starlight Re. Honestly, I'm really excited to see where this game could go, but I also see many areas where the player experience could improve, so I will be keeping a close eye on it and updating you guys as I go. I will be making an in-depth analysis of how each character plays in the upcoming videos, so feel free to check them out when they come out. I just want to say a huge thank you for watching this video, and I appreciate any kind of support, especially since this is my first video. If you enjoyed it or found this video helpful, please hit that like button. It really helps me out by getting more people to discover the channel. If you want to see more video game reviews, gameplay, or deep dives into games like this, consider subscribing. I'm still figuring out what kind of content I want to focus on going forward, so your feedback and support mean the world to me. Let me know what you'd like to see in the comments below. Thank you again, and I'll see you all in the next one.